Charlie Brown.
Come on, you're smirking.
Come on, Charlie Brown.
Oh, hello, Alisa.
Hello, Jeremy. How are you?
I am great. I loved our catch-up session right beforehand. I know who you are. Why don't you tell our audience of OhHello who I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to join you here. And I did. I felt like we had an instant connection, which was terrific. So, who am I? There's so many answers. My name is Alisa Udaskin. And I don't know if you can tell that I have an accent. Some people might think I do. I'm Canadian. I'm from Toronto, and I live in New Jersey. And I thought maybe we could start. I could tell you a bit about my career journey.
Would love to hear about your career journey. Please.
So, as I said, I'm Canadian, and I started my career in Toronto with Craft Canada and Mondelez, and I am a type A all the way. And I had a very, very linear career trajectory and a plan. And so I always took all these different assignments and roles that were interesting and moving, forward. I worked in Craft Canada in Toronto. Then the company moved myself and my family to the United States of America in New Jersey. And from here, I lived in Singapore, and I led global team in Singapore for 2 years, and then came back to New Jersey. And all the way through my time at Kraft Mondelez, the company bought Nabisco, bought Cadbury. I was able to be the brand manager on Oreo, work on, chocolate, gum, candy, all those kind of fun things.
All the goodness.
All the goodness. And all the way through, I always was able to do something that was really for me, which was helping others. So I was always able to do other sort of side project initiatives of corporate initiatives that we did with the food banks. Did it in Toronto, did it in Singapore, and in the United States for the country, actually. So it was just a really, really terrific linear trajectory to the stars, I would say, right? Yeah. And so after close to 20 areas, there was a restructuring at our company, like there is in all these. And I was like, me, because I was ready for the next thing. Yeah. And so the next thing was actually not what anybody really expected of me. But all I knew is I needed a pause and really wanted to think about what I wanted to do in phase 2. And so the first thing I did was use those air miles that I had. And I went to Guatemala 4 times. I started volunteering, got on the board for the school for developmentally and physically challenged kids. And I started to get more involved in my community. I made the conscious decision to build what I call a portfolio career so that I could be more flexible to be around. My daughter was just getting into high school. I had always been the parent that was, there, but like always on conference calls, always working, always traveling. And I made a decision that I wanted to be home and figure things out. So what I did was, again, I built this like portfolio career, which I call it. I did some nonprofit consulting. I built a website, a social enterprise called Caring Organizer, which unfortunately was passed away through COVID. Let's just put it that way. But it was an amazing experience. And I also became a first-time author and wrote a book, all while also becoming a part-time barista, working from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. so that I could have that social interaction and do all that. So did that for a few years. My daughter's in college. My son is getting off college. My life stage changed again. And this is the kind of thing that I really recognize now. My life stage shake, I'm ready to throw my hat back in that arena. So for a year, I became the CMO at a startup company and rolled up my sleeves because it was a small, nimble company to basically not have all those gazillion resources at a Kraft Mondelez and learn how to do a lot myself. We just recently went through a restructuring. And so now I am going back to building what is that portfolio career again for me, starting with some nonprofit consulting, the mentorship, coaching, things like that. So that's
Amazing.
basically me.
Amazing. In a nutshell, how would you define yourself? I mean, that's so much. Like, you have such a robust experience of being a global marketer, working across a philanthropist, a global marketer, a startup builder, a mom, a wife, with all of those different hats that you're wearing. And for those not watching us right now, I just did a hat motion of moving your hat in a different direction. How would you define yourself? Would it be just being a social impact leader? Would it be a marketer? A little bit of all of those?
That's really interesting because after I left Mondelez, I was actually on an airplane coming back on a business trip in business class. And I thought I had kind of an identity crisis. And I thought, who am I? And how, if I was to talk to the person beside me, because in business class you usually don't, which I learned, what would I say to them about who I am? And I always would have said, I'm a marketer. I'm a business leader. I global, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But over the past few years, I think that what defines me the most is being a nurturer, being someone who can hopefully inspire others to be their best selves in everything I
Love that.
do. And that is still within the context of a large company, a small company, because I really believe in servant leadership going both ways, right? And adapting. And so I think that my identity now is more about community leader, community impact, social impact, things like that. But it doesn't. You don't have to volunteer at a specific organization. It's just being a mensch, a good person, and helping people because of my personality. Always understanding objectives and get to results. So I guess that's how I would sort of define myself now. In Yiddish, we call it a balabusta, which is like a nurturer, a caregiver, and just sort of all through my whole life. But it starts with me as opposed to what my job was and my title was.
Cool. What excites you the most about mentorship? What excites you about OhHello?
So I think what excites me the most about this initiative and OhHello and mentorship is really to help people unleash what's inside them, unleash their potential, unleash their happiness, unleash their best way to achieve what they want to do. And not everyone out there have formal or informal mentors. They might be shy, they might be nervous about, because there's vulnerability that comes along with that when you want to ask someone for help. Okay. And you may not want to go to the people that because there may be things that you've acknowledged maybe at the tipping point for yourself, but you haven't felt comfortable because you're just not sure how people will think. Similar to me, what are people going to think about me, the way I used to be, and then who I am now, what I'm doing, and you're afraid of judgment. So what I absolutely love about this OhHello community and initiative is the opportunity to pair people up with a mentor where they can just be open without the judgment and be able to just really explore and speak without worrying about what other people think. I think it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. What I have learned a lot is that it is so good and always is good to have objectives, right? A vision and objectives, but you have to recognize and allow yourself to not be linear. It's okay if you want to be linear, and that works for people, but guess what happens? Life happens. And through life, whether you're single, you have a partner, you're married, there's going to be different times, you have children, where you need to be adaptable and recognize that where you thought you should be, especially if we're talking about careers, may need to change a little bit. And you need to be able to be flexible to do what you need to do. I would say, one of my mottos is nothing is beneath me. And if it's in the direction of achieving your goals of what you need in your life at that moment, nothing should be beneath you. And then the last piece of advice, I guess, or mantras that I have is whenever I took a role, and I wish that I'd done this to myself, I wish someone had helped me along this as well, was that I have taken roles where my title became lower on the next role. Okay. The title, compensation was the same. I took that role because it was going into a new area of business that I knew that I was going to add tools to my toolbox. And that was going to really excite me. And guess what happened? Well, you could probably guess, is that I was in it for like 6 months and then got the title back and kept on growing. So, when I was going through things like this at that time, it was like, am I taking a step back when people on LinkedIn see my title has changed or things like that, even though I know it's okay and it's what I want to do? And so what I would say is the hardest thing is thinking about what all those people out there you think are thinking about, but guess what? They're not you. They don't have yours, but they're not living your life. And so if it is in the direction of where you need to go, where your stage, or adding tools to your toolbox, you just go for it.
Awesome. So well said. Love those mantras. Who is a mentor, or who are a couple of mentors that have had a profound impact on your personal and or professional life? And then also combine that with a cause that's near and dear to your heart as a Canadian, as a New Jerseyan, as someone who's as a marketer, as a mom, as a servant leader.
So when I think of role models or mentors, okay, I would say role models, mom and dad. Okay. So nothing was beneath my dad, is beneath my dad. I should say he's now fully retired. And just always just doing what you need to do. Okay. My mom, in terms of other, values about helping others always. And it doesn't need to be a specific, although she did volunteer with specific organizations, it's that everyday kindness. And that's where the empathy comes in when you're working to understand when you're having a conflict with someone at work or you're just feeling really yucky. If you take a second and put yourself in their shoes, it's not about you. Perhaps have empathy for them, whether it's your boss's boss. You think they might be on a pedestal and invincible, but guess what? They're humans and they have bad days too.
I agree with you
So
on
those
that.
are me. I just have two more because
Sure. Please.
So that would be more about role models, I guess. In terms of mentors, and is definitely a friend of mine, Liz Sporn. A few years ago, when I decided to start my own website and my own social website to help people, my friend Liz was ahead of me in the journey. And I had only just met her. And she was so gracious and so generous with teaching me and sharing with me all the different tools from HubSpot to Canva to all of those things. Because remember, I said I came from a huge organization, had a really nice, healthy budget, and had all these people doing things. All of a sudden, I'm doing these things myself. And having a mentor who is so generous with understanding and listening to the business challenges I was having and coming up with some really good concrete tips, invaluable. That's Liz. And then the final person, listen, there are so many more, but in the interest of time, I will give you one more, is my friend, because these are different types that I'm trying to describe of types of people that is really beneficial to have in your life, is my other friend, Nisa Krongold. And so she's an HR professional, executive, and now she is a coach. And whenever throughout my career, throughout the past, I guess, 15 years, I would have a sticky situation at work. I didn't want to necessarily speak to someone in the company. And I was able to describe the situation, and she would play things back to me. And that was so helpful for me to get my thoughts together and get calm again. So those mentors and role models have been really a gift to me.
Amazing. Alisa, we're so excited to have you. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Take care, everybody.